Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to create a card. We're using the Hero Arts Make Yourself at Home Card Making Kit. Now I created with this kit last month. In fact, I'll be creating with it on the first Thursday of every month, and I get to share with you the brand new kit for the month, and then we're going to create 3 cards with it. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link down below, but this is only available at Joann.com. So Joann actually has a brick and mortar building, and you know it's not available in the building. It's only available through Joann.com. But I will list all of the elements of the kit from the Hero Arts store in case you guys want to check that out too, because Hero Arts sells everything individually over there. But this month you get 4 sheets of Hero Hues cardstock in 3 different colors. I love Hero Arts cardstock. I love the weight of it, and it makes great card bases, guys. I actually have a swatch book. I have all the colors, and so I'm going to tell you what colors that we have in the kit this month. I'm going to create my card bases with these also, so it's nice that they're cut in half at 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. So you just score at the 5.5 inch mark to create your card bases. Okay, it looks like we have papaya is the orange here. It's a beautiful summery color. Blue is mist, and it looks like our green is kiwi. So nice summer palette. And you know what? This month you get a 4-pack of reactive ink, mini ink cubes. I don't think Hero Arts sells these. They sell them individually, but not in the 4-pack. So you can check it out. I'll leave a list down below. But the reactive inks are pretty nice. Also, I want to swatch out the reactive inks for you, but before we do that, I did want to share with you, you get 4 pieces of vellum. I love Hero Arts classic layering vellum because if it's a nice heavyweight vellum, it heat embosses beautifully. You get 4 sheets that are 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches too. So you get those. I'm going to grab some white cardstock. The cardstock that I'm using to do my swatching on is actually alcohol marker friendly cardstock. So it's a smooth cardstock, so it's perfect for the reactive inks. Why I say that is because reactive inks are water-based, so you can watercolor with them. The first color was a teal, that was Pool Party. Orange is Creamsicle. Green here is Key Lime Fizz, and then our last color is Blue Hawaii. So love this. I think it's going to be perfect to go with our stamp set. Now I'm going to use my water brush, and I'm going to spread out the color here and show you what this does. It just colors beautifully like watercolor. So you can create smushed backgrounds. Oops, I guess I should have wiped my brush off a little better. You can color in your images. You can stamp your images with it. You can ink blend with it. So reactive inks are really nice because you can do so much with it. So you can see how the color just spreads out beautifully. So that is your little color palette. We're going to clean off our brush here. So Hero Arts does have a water brush too. If you guys don't have one, I'll list it down below. But you also get a blending brush. These are so nice, and you can blend with your reactive inks. And then you also get a pretty good size. I think this is probably enough for maybe 3 cards of stencil paste. Now I'm not sure if Hero Arts sells this in the shop or not, but but this stuff is really nice. I'm just going to grab my palette knife, and you can see it's very smooth. The consistency reminds me of room temperature butter, so it's real silky smooth. So it's going to really be easy to go over your stencils, and you can color this too, guys. You can use your reactive inks, put a little bit of reactive ink on an acrylic block, and then add some of that stencil paste, and you can color in your stencil paste. And speaking of stencils, you get a wave stencil this month. This is great for A2 size cards, and we're going to use this for our background. You can stencil with it, stencil paste. You can ink blend with your blending brush. In fact, we're going to do both of those for our project today. Now you get your 4x6 stamp set. Yours will come in a package, but this is the Need a Hand stamp set. Super fun. You get a large octopus, 2 jellyfish, a coral, and then there is some greenery that you, like a seaweed piece that you can color in, a starfish, and a seahorse. So, and fun sentiments too. And then you also get the coordinating frame cut dies to go with it. So lots in this kit. I think there's so much that you can do with it. Today we're going to create 3 cards. So we are going to go ahead and jump in. We're going to start off by stamping all of our images for all 3 cards. So I'm bringing in my mini Misty here, and I'm stamping on some white cardstock. I have the octopus, I have the large jellyfish, and then the seaweed image. I'm going to stamp this, and then I'm going to clean off my seaweed image, and we're going to stamp that a few extra times. I actually want to color in 3 of the seaweeds. So, and I kind of got heavy-handed, over inked that one first seaweed, but no worries. We'll just put that on an acrylic block and stamp 3 more. So the ink that I'm using is just Memento Tuxedo Black ink, but if you wanted to use your Hero Arts Intense Black ink, I think it would work perfectly for this. Like I said, we're going to stamp 3 of these. Since I got heavy-handed, I'm not going to use that very first one we stamped. Kind of didn't get heavy-handed, I got heavy-inked. Okay, we are good to go. I'm going to go ahead and do some watercoloring. I have an acrylic block here. We're going to go ahead and open up our mini reactive ink cubes. I'm going to just do a little splotching with each color on my acrylic block. Now to watercolor, I'm using my water brush here. And I'm not watercoloring on watercolor cardstock, guys. I'm actually just using some white alcohol marker friendly cardstock. So if you do this on white cardstock, just be careful not to oversaturate your cardstock, because you could create quite a mess. But I'm just going light-handed. My idea was to kind of create a gradient with all of these colors on the jellyfish and also the octopus. So I'm starting off with my creamsicle. I'll wipe off my brush really good, and then we're going to pick up our pool party here and blend both of these colors together very carefully. I'm afraid if you blend the pool party with the creamsicle, you could get a pretty ugly color. So I'm just lightly blending into each other, so it looks like it's almost turned a little green. We're going to intensify that green with our key lime fizz in just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video, and then while I color, I can talk a little bit more about the kit. The kits are a fabulous value, guys. They're 50% off, and I don't know, for everything that, if you were to price these individually, I think you would just be surprised the value of it. But I've ordered through Joann.com before. Their shipping is usually pretty fast, and I was super excited about it. So yes, on the first Thursday of every month, a brand new kit comes out. So that's something to look forward to. So on the first Thursday of every month, look forward to creating with the Make Yourself at Home kits. But I think it's a very cute name, by the way. I thought that was adorable, Make Yourself at Home card making kit. But coloring in my greenery, instead of going with green, I thought we'd do a blue and then also an orange. Just kind of shake it up a bit. And I'm going to basically do the same thing that I did with the octopus to the jellyfish, but only adding a little bit of orange underneath. And then basically the top portion of the jellyfish is going to be with the teal and the green and the blue. And I need a little more pool party here, and we'll blend this up here so it blends with the orange a little bit better. But I'm happy with the way this turned out. I think it turns out really neat. I did add a little bit of gradient to my greenery on top there. I added 2 colors, so I think it's going to look really nice for my backgrounds. Let's clean off our block here, and then my paper is a little bit saturated. Again, you don't want to use too much water unless you are using watercolor cardstock. But I'm going to use my heat gun to speed up the drying process so we can die cut out our images. That's another thing that I like, is your stamp set does have the coordinating frame cuts, so you can cut everything out. I'm going to go ahead and grab my dies. We'll just take them out of the package, and they all are together, so you're going to need your nippers to disconnect them, but they're very easy to line up. I'm just going to tape them down, and then we're going to run everything through our die cutting machine. Pretty easy peasy. Now, once we have everything die cut out, I think they look wonderful. We're going to kind of clean up our work surface. I should have zoomed in a little bit so you could see it a little bit better, but I'm going to zoom in, and then we're going to work on our background. We're going to start off by stenciling with our blending brush. And those are the images we're going to use for all 3 cards today. So I just scored at the 5.5 inch mark, and then reinforced that score line to create my card base, which is a standard A2 size card base. So that means it's 4¼ inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. Next, I'm taking my stencil. I have a spray, it's called Pixie Spray, and it works fabulous for stencils because it leaves a light tackiness on the reverse side. This way you don't have to use tape. You just adhere your stencil and it lightly tacks to your project without leaving any residue on your cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and take my creamsicle reactive ink cube, and I added that to my blending brush, and it just blends like butter, guys, over your cardstock and over the stencil. These brushes are really nice. It's a wide surface area. I have other blending brushes, and Hero Arts blending brushes have a bigger inking surface, so the bristles are wider. It makes it really nice because you can get better coverage. I'm going to go over my entire background, and basically what we're doing is a tone on tone background, and I think it's very subtle. In the pictures you can really see it, but it is tone on tone, which is really nice. The ink does stay wet a little bit longer, so you want to set that aside to dry, but I am going to reuse my stencil, so I cleaned it off really good. We're going to use our stencil paste next. I have 3 pieces of cardstock. The top one is our papaya, and that is 1.5 inches, along with our mist, which is the blue. That's 1.5 inches wide by 4¼ inches long. I may have said that wrong. How about it is 1.5 inch tall by 4¼ inches wide? That's much better. But we're going to go ahead, and then my green, which is my kiwi, that is 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches tall. So it's just a thin strip. But texture paste is so super smooth, guys. It is so, it just glides on the paper. Like I said, the consistency is definitely like a room temperature butter. So if you ever toasted your bread with room temperature butter, you know how it just glides on? That's what it does with your stencil. Now I'm just going to remove my stencil. We're actually going to keep it before we wash it off. You just wash it with soapy water, guys, warm soapy water, and it comes right up. I'm going to go ahead and lift it off of my paper, and I kind of smeared it a little bit, but I think I can fix it. I just didn't want to dry it in my paper. But you can see the pattern in the background is just so pretty, and I love that the effect that this is going to give. Okay, I'm going to set the entire thing aside to dry, and then I'm going to also stencil, just using the stencil paste on some white cardstock. Pretty easy peasy. I just wanted to go white on white with this, and I can just take my fingers, go along the edges, so that when it dries it doesn't have any rough surfaces here. I'm going to wash my hands, my desk, and my stencil, and then come back and we're going to continue on. And we're going to jump in. Now that all of our images are prepped and our backgrounds are prepped, we can go ahead and start our first card. These are 1.5 inches, 1.5 inch squares. I thought we would stamp the little school of fish on each one of these. The school of fish has eyes that are facing the right, so all of these will be stamped facing the right. I did treat each one of these squares with my anti-static powder tool, and then I'm inking up my school of fish here with my Versamark ink. After we have each of these stamped with our little school of fish, I'm going to take some white embossing powder and go over each of our squares. So they're going to have a partial portion of some fish on each one of these. I'm going to go ahead and tap off the excess white embossing powder, and then I'll use my heat gun and melt all of these so the white fish really stand out against the colored cardstock. We'll just grab our heat gun and go ahead and melt it. And then once all of these are good to go, we are going to go ahead and take a little bit more of that ink and the water brush and color in our fish. Now it's going to be tone on tone fish, so for my mist cardstock we're using our pool party. For our papaya cardstock we're going to use creamsicle ink, and then for our kiwi cardstock I use the key lime fizz. All the colors coordinate beautifully, and it just adds a little extra something to them so they stand out. Now after I have my fish colored in, I'm taking, I have different blending brushes, but I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of color with my reactive ink to each one of those squares, just so it's highlighted a bit. And then we're going to take those same ink cubes, same colors, and stamp the coral. So we're going to stamp with creamsicle, pool party, and key lime fizz. And then I'll use the coordinating dies and just cut them out. I like the way the coral looks because the inside pieces do punch out. It just adds extra detail for your die cuts. Okay, so our images are good to go. Next, I'm going to grab a piece of white cardstock and mat that on a piece of vellum. My white cardstock measures 3 1/4 inches wide by 4 inches tall. We're going to kind of layer, we're going to pop up our squares and then kind of overlap them in a trio, and then put the coordinating coral right above them and right next to them. I think it's just going to create a really fun look. I'm going to play around with the placement and then I'll commit to them here. I went ahead and stamped my sentiment just using my black ink that says "Go with the flow," and I stamped that at the very bottom. I did use my Misty for that because I wanted to make sure that I got a great impression. We'll add the coral to the right here, and I love the way this looks. Kind of something a little different. You know, usually you can create an ocean scene, but this is kind of like an abstract look. Kind of like that. I'm going to flip this panel over. We're going to add some foam tape behind it so it's one layer higher, and then we're going to add that to our card base. Now this is the card base that we did the tone on tone with our stencil, and I love the way this looks. Now just for added detail, I'm bringing in my Sparkle Clear lacquer pen. Hero Arts sells this, and it came with Joanne's kit last month, and so this is really nice sparkly pen. It's like an iridescent sparkle. It does keep its shape really well, guys, so if it doesn't flatten, so you want to make sure that your circles are circles, otherwise they're gonna not be circles. But I love it because it gives a lot of dimension to your projects. So that's card 1. I'm going to go ahead and move along to card 2. I have 3 different card front panels, which are 4 1/4 inches by 5 inches, 5 1/2 inches. I do end up trimming these down, guys, to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. But I'm taking my Hero Arts rectangle infinity dies and creating frames, basically. I have my largest is with the white, and then second largest is the green, then orange, and then blue. So infinity dies are nice that you can do this. And what I'm going to do is mat them behind my white frame. I love, if you haven't tried this, I think you will really like it. It's like a picture frame. I'm going to go ahead and mat my kiwi behind my white. My white frame measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. So this is going to end up leaving me a little bit of a border on my card base, and I want that because I'm going to be using my blue cardstock for my card base, and I want that blue to shine behind it. Next, before I add my last matte layer, I'm going to go ahead and add my colorful greenery. We're going to add it right behind, kind of evenly spacing them on the very bottom. And then we can go ahead and add our blue layer right behind. I already added adhesive behind it so it should lift it up. So we have a really colorful matte background. I love the way this looks. Now for my sentiment for here, we're going to stamp on the top of our frame and on the bottom. I'm going to use the sentiment that says just floating by to say hello. It's actually one piece, so we're going to do a little masking. I'm masking off to say hello, and we're going to ink up just floating by with black ink. We'll remove our tape and then stamp the first part of our sentiment. We better move it up here on the very top, making sure it's centered. So it'll say just floating by, and then we'll do the same exact to our second part of the sentiment on the very bottom. So the bottom will say to say hello. This is a nice way to stretch your stamps because with a little masking, so it's just not one piece. Okay, we'll flip this over. I'm going to add foam tape behind it, and again, I like a lot of adhesive foam tape behind and dimension behind my projects. If you guys don't like all this dimension, skip the foam tape and just directly adhere it to your card base. Now I'm adhering it to my card base that I already added my white stencil pasted background. It just adds a lot of texture to the background, and I love the way that looked. Next, I did end up cutting and coloring in the other jellyfish that's in the stamp set. I thought two would look better. One was just lonely, so I colored in another one, basically the same way I did the first one. And we just added that in the open area of our frame here. Now, I'm going to be using my Sparkle Clear lacquer pen and color in my colorful greenery, and then also the tops of my jellyfish. And when this dries, guys, the colors are so pretty. It went perfect with the jellyfish. So that was card 2. Card 3 is pretty easy. I have a panel of cardstock. This measures 3 1/4 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches. Okay, I put that on my green card base, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape down my my stenciled strips. I just kind of layer right in the middle, evenly spacing them. Now I do want to let you know that you do want to use a very good adhesive to do this. You could use your Hero Arts precision glue. I think that would work good, or double-sided tape to do this, because the texture paste does kind of warp your cardstock a little bit, so you want some good adhesive to get those down there. My vellum circle I die cut out with a 3-inch infinity circle die, and I just popped up my octopus and put it right in the center of that vellum, and then put it over my stencil background. Now I thought we'd add a little playful look by adding some googly eyes to our octopus, and I'm not going to add any sentiment because I just want this to be a just because card. It could be great for any occasion. I'm going to go ahead and add a little more sparkle to this guy on the tentacles with my Sparkle Clear lacquer pen, and then that finishes off my third card. I think the googly eyes just make it extra fun. And I love the way this looks. But these are the 3 cards that I made today with the Make Yourself at Home card making kit from Hero Arts, available again only at joann.com. I love creating with this. Well, 1, it's a great value, but 2, it is also wonderfully coordinated, and I love kits like this. So if you want to see still shots, head on over to my blog, guys. There's more details over there about the kit. Have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for joining me. We will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.